Welcome to these Travel Times talks here at the Adventure Overland Show 2017. These are brought to you in partnership with Rimmer Brothers, who have a vast array of aftermarket OEM and genuine parts for all Land Rover vehicles at competitive prices. More importantly to you guys, they will deliver them all around the world fast. So if you've any problems, these are the places to come to. There's now a brand new accessories catalogue out with a comprehensive range of Land Rover vehicles, from Range Rover Classics up to, well, vehicles of today. There's also the popular parts catalogue, and this is a great accessory to put in your glove box. For more details, do visit the website at rimmerbrothers.co.uk. Enjoy the talk.
Yes. I don't know if anybody was here yesterday when my husband talked about going into Europe with 2 motorbikes. That was in preparation for going into Africa in 2010. Yeah, that's us up there, Isabel and Adrian at the back there, Mr. Teddy in the middle, and the 2 dogs obviously didn't go with us. We didn't have them, and it's quite hard traveling with 2 dogs on 2 bikes. Those are the bikes we took with us. The front one, BMW. They were pretty much the same as what we took into Europe, with a few additions. We added some series lights on it. We didn't have any intention of riding after dark. It's too dangerous, so we decided not to, but just in case, we'll put some series lights on there so we can see where we're going, see all the potholes, see any animals. Adrian put a metal belly pan on for all the rocks that were likely to hit the underside of his bike, and also a metal grill on his radiator. And what did I do? I got a sheepskin to make it a little bit easier to sit on long journeys. So that was almost all we changed, apart from one other major thing which got in handy. Adrian decided that the beep beep of a horn on a motorbike is not good enough. So he put a massive big truck horn on his bike. And we used it a few times, and people, animals, other vehicles just scattered because they thought a big truck was coming, which is good. So the reason there's an intended in there was because things don't always go the way you plan. That's what we wanted to do. Start from home and ride our motorbikes to my parents, who happen to live in South Africa. So, not quite sure how it all started. I think we just had a conversation one evening and decided that maybe that's a good idea, take the bikes into Africa. We didn't quite do that road, but we'll come to that in a minute. The dreaded documents. There's always stuff you have to take with you. Apart from your passport, which you can't go anywhere without. International driving licenses. We thought, okay, go to the post office, you get your international driving license. No, because we wanted to go to Nigeria, we needed 2. Because there's 2 different ones, 1926 and 1949, something like that. And everybody uses one, apart from Nigeria, who uses 1949, so you needed 2. You have to pay for both. You need to get your canine for your bike. We needed obviously one for each bike. It costs a lot of money because you have to pay up front for I think the privilege of taking your bike into all of these places, and depending on the country, it depends on how much you have to pay. It turned out for us to be about 150% of the value of each bike. Now, you can make the price lower, but the RAC are pretty on the ball, so they won't let you go too low. But then we found out that your bank will guarantee the price if you can find somebody at the bank who actually knows what a carnet is and how to do it. It took us about 3 months to convince NatWest that they can do it. And they finally did, so we didn't have to pay all of that money up front, which was nice. We got 1 visa up front, and that was the one for Burkina Faso. And that was mainly because Adrian had struck up a conversation with one of the people who signed the visas. So that was good. The rest of them, we had a list of where you can get them, and we were trying to get them as soon as possible through the trip. Sometimes there's more than one place, but it's always best to get it as quickly as you can, so you don't have to worry about it again. But it also depends on how your trip is going and when you think you can be somewhere, because they give you a certain amount of time before you can get into the country. Insurance, travel insurance, bike insurance, all of that. Yellow fever certificate and all the other jabs you have to get. Makes you feel like a pincushion before you go. And in terms of medicine, because of some of the countries we were going through, we had to get malaria medicine as well. And I was happy to take Lariam. I've taken it before, but the doctor suggested that we did a 3-week trial just to make sure we are okay with it. Adrian wasn't. He was a nervous wreck after the first week. So he had to take doxycycline. And the bad thing about that is you have to take it every day. So you have to take a whole bunch of stuff with you. And Lariam you take once a week. So that was easy. So try it out before you actually have to use it. The other thing we did was, yes, we took our driver's license with us, but we kept that safe. We made color copies of it, laminated it, and used that. We also put that in our little throwaway wallets that we had with some dummy credit cards and dummy money and stuff in it. Because if they take your driver's license, yeah, it is a bit hard to get another one somewhere in Africa. And I don't think we used it very often, except once in South Africa, and they didn't understand it and just gave it back and let us drive a truck, 10-ton truck. Okay. I was sort of going to go through the whole trip, what we did, sort of country by country, but once I started looking at all the photos, I thought that doesn't necessarily make sense, so we'll try and go through a few things that we did. As Adrian mentioned yesterday, food is quite important to us. We like trying different things, eating different things in different countries. In Morocco, the bread that you can see on the top left, that's quite nice. This tiny little bakery making these wonderful little pastries, and it smells awesome. Things like hot soup and fufu in Ghana, or tagines, anything that's local we like to try. We also make our own food sometimes. Bottom left, we went to a fish market, which was quite an experience because all the fish is just there on slabs outside, people cutting them open, scaling them or whatever. And we were given, we and another rider we met, were given some fish. They absolutely refused to take any payment. He was happy to show us all the nice refrigerators that they had and the new freezers they had, and they were very proud of it. And he gave us some fish. So we made a fish stew and some fresh vegetables and stuff. Sometimes you get some odd things. We stayed in a hotel once, and the hotel was still being built and they didn't have a restaurant, but they were open for use. And things like doors didn't open properly, or there were things in the way of the door, or the mirror was behind the door, you couldn't use it, or the bed was in front of the cupboard and you couldn't actually open the cupboard or put anything in it. And we didn't expect any breakfast. So next morning, knock on the door, we got a tray with a sandwich with some egg in it. But this is Ghana, and as we have found out, all the French-speaking countries, gorgeous bread, French heritage. Ghana, not so much. Very, very sweet bread. It was almost like pudding bread with an egg in it. But didn't complain, it was free, we ate it. Fish is one thing people always say, stay away from. It can be dangerous. We had lots of very fresh fish, very nice fish in most of the countries. Where are we? Yes, the staples. Breakfast for us quite often was bread and cheese. Because the bread is so good in most of the countries, it's really nice. But carrying cheese with you when you don't have fridge or anything on a bike, that's a bit difficult. We stuck with Laughing Cow cheese. It's not the greatest in the world, but it doesn't melt, doesn't seem to go off. So that was always in the panniers. Coke and beer, they tend to be made locally. Beer with water that's been boiled, so that tends to be fairly safe. And Coke's pretty much the same everywhere. But if you order 3 Cokes because there's 3 people and you get 3/4 of a litre each, that's maybe a little bit much. Where did we stay? We don't tend to wild camp. We should learn to do that. But I am South African originally, and that's a little difficult for me. Going onto somebody else's property without their permission is a bit dangerous to do. So I tend not to wild camp. So we stayed in all sorts of things. Campsites, we had missions, Protestant missions, Catholic missions. They're great places to stay. We had a bit of luck on the top left. That's a B&B in Morocco. We wanted to camp, but we ended up in Rabat, where we had to get a visa, on the weekend where they had a music festival. And every single campsite was fully booked. Every single hotel was fully booked. So we were absolutely shattered when we got to about the 10th hotel where they said, we don't have any room. And he said, but I know somebody who might be able to help. So this person turns up in this clapped out car and he said, well, I'll take you to somewhere. And we thought, okay, we have nowhere else to go. We don't know the place. Let's just try this. And we followed him down all these little roads, and he said, well, we have to put the bike somewhere safe, so we'll go to this place. And we thought, not sure about keeping them safe here, but we'll keep them there. And then we had to walk. So we put all the panniers and everything on a little trolley, and off we went. And he took us to that place. It's a B&B, fairly new, run by an English woman who's married to a Moroccan. And I think they'd been going for about 2 months or something when we ended up there. And it was absolutely brilliant. We were in the middle of a little Moroccan town, and we walked around there. The locals were so friendly. They don't see foreigners very often, let alone a woman walking around with hair uncovered, blonde hair. So got a bit of attention there. But that was really good. And trusting somebody in that sort of situation is quite difficult, but if you do it, you can sometimes get surprises. On bottom left, it looks like we're almost in the middle of nowhere. We're actually at the back of, I think it was the Sheraton Hotel in Abuja. They let you camp there for about 10 quid a night or something. You're not supposed to use any of their facilities, but they've got a gorgeous swimming pool and some showers that people use when they've played some sports. So we made use of that while we were there. We had to get about 3 visas there. Sometimes we stayed in local B&Bs run by the locals. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good. Some of them you don't want to sleep in the beds, so you sleep on the floor. And other times we've made use of what was already there. Bottom right, we stayed in Morocco. It was quite warm. There was this half-built shelter, and we stayed in there. We saw some massive ants that day, about the size of the top of my little finger. But it's all good fun. All good fun. It wasn't just us going around. We met a few other people. Bottom left, 2 brothers, Halke and Holm, I think. They were 2 Germans, 2 students. And like the youngsters in there, Micra and the Skoda, yeah, they were driving a Fiesta all the way from Germany to sell it in Cameroon. And they nearly lost it in Cameroon. They ended up in a pothole that swallowed the car. But they did manage to sell it in the end, buy their tickets back to Germany. That was what they wanted to do. We didn't meet many other motorcyclists. The ones in the middle are basically what the other motorcyclists we met. So we were a bit of an oddity then. We also met quite a lot of friendly locals. Most of them are really nice people. Top left is a guy Adrian spent about 2 hours talking to. We don't speak French. He doesn't speak English. but they shared a love of music. So they were playing each other bits of music and guessing who the singers were and musicians were, and that was really nice. Street food, locals, we got to know the two ladies with the corn on the cob very well in Togo. We stayed there for a week and a half or something, and almost every day we would go and have some corn on the cob with them, have a little chat with them, and they were really friendly. We were even taught, or Adrian was taught how to make fufu. That's quite something to watch. Two people, one stamping and one turning things over by hand, and you just wonder how many times they've actually hit each other's hands with it. As I said, locals are in general friendly. There are basically two exceptions. One, put a gun in somebody's hand and they are not a very nice person anymore. Luckily, we only met one that pointed a gun at us. We were too tired to care at that point, and he was too drunk to really realize what he was doing. And luckily, the gun he had was probably a musket. It looked like a front loader anyway. We couldn't care. We just kept on saying, no, just let us go. Eventually, he let us go. So I think we were very lucky in that instance. The other people who are not very nice are people with official jobs. So that includes the police and people round about the borders. Before we even started, we decided that I would be dealing with officialdom. So if at all possible, at any border, Adrian would stay with the bikes so that he can look after them. And I would go in and try and deal with all the paperwork. And I think that helped us quite a lot. When I was doing it on my own, could go in and be out before they got over the shock that I was a woman riding a bike in Africa. Whenever Adrian was with me, they would try and get bribes from us. We never paid any. We made sure we were at a border early enough in the morning so that we could just sit there, eat an apple, eat a banana, make a cup of tea, whatever. If they want a bribe, we're not going to give it to them. They will get bored, somebody else will come through. While they're dealing with us, they can't deal with anybody else. So eventually they give up, give our passports back, and off we go. Adrian quite often gathered quite a crowd when he was outside with the bikes. A couple of times people didn't believe that I was actually riding a bike. We were trying to get into Senegal, I think, and we were both in. We had to leave the bikes, go in, get the documents for the bikes, because they don't take the canine, so they have to write out a certificate for each of the bikes. We sort of pretended not to understand French, because we don't really, but some of the words we could follow. And he was insisting that he would write one document for us, because there's two of us, but there's one bike. He'll write one out for the bike. No, there's two of us. One yellow one, one red one. Okay, there's one document, I'll write both of your names on it. No. Write two, please. We had to take him out of his air-conditioned office. Go and show him the bikes. Oh, you're right. Yes, I write. Back in, air-conditioned office, sit there for another half an hour while he writes out all the documents. So, yeah, the different borders, you have different issues to contend with. But it all makes it fun. This family was quite interesting to me. I'm one of 4 girls. This guy turned up with his wife and 5 girls. And they were all very interested in sitting on the bike. They have never seen a woman ride a bike. They've never seen bikes that big. So we have photos of all of them, everyone sitting on the bike, trying it out. That was in Benin. Yeah, a place with a very odd name. Yes, the Grand Popo. But yeah, sometimes people are just curious. And wherever we were, we would draw a crowd. It didn't matter. The top right We stopped at a deserted petrol station, one of the few that you can actually recognize as petrol station. And within seconds, that crowd had appeared. All they wanted was to have a photo taken with us, because we're odd. They don't see many bikes that size. There are loads everywhere, loads of Chinese 125s with names like KTM and things like that. So that's what they know. But everywhere we went, people were just gathering round to see us. Some of the things we saw, health and safety. The ladder on the left was from the ground up to the top of a hotel we stayed in. It's actually 2 ladders, together with rope. People transporting camels, they can walk, but in some areas camels are so valuable that they don't want them in any danger, so they put them in the back of a landing. Petrol stations. Nigeria has a lot of petrol stations, as we would recognize them. Most of them don't actually sell petrol because they get government grants to open up a petrol station, and that's what they do. They open petrol stations, but they don't sell petrol. The way you can buy petrol quite often is just by the side of the road, and then you just have to guess what it is. There's mixtures of stuff for their little 125s, there's diesel, and there is petrol in there. We tried to get petrol at sort of more official petrol stations most of the time. The fish market I mentioned earlier, bottom left, that's how they sell fish. But that fish is fresher than what we get in the supermarket. That was just landed less than half an hour before we took that photo. As I said, health and safety. Courier in Bamako, I think that one was. And that's quite lightly laden. We saw somebody transporting a door on a 125. Ghana. The one country I didn't get on with, but I think because I just got into Ghana on the wrong foot. But you find all of these gems there. Lovers Club, we give you the best assorted drinks. Doesn't really sound like a drinks place. One that nearly got Adrian off his bike was Jesus Does. Welding and fabrication. And it's full of signs like that. They give their shops the most interesting names, and quite often there's some kind of religious connotation to it. Sometimes you find things that you really didn't plan on seeing. The guy on the left had been working for 45 years for the Albert Schweitzer Hospital in Gabon. We ended up at the hospital at a celebration of Albert Schweitzer's life, and that guy got a commendation for his long service to the hospital. We actually stayed an extra day so we could partake in all their festivities for it. We didn't even know that was going on, so that was quite nice to see. The top, Papa Kane. He's an artist in Senegal, and he's actually disabled. He has to paint with his left hand. He can't use his right hand or his left leg very well. And he paints these images of Africa, not people and so on, but just the colors, and you get the whole vibrant feel of Africa by looking at his pictures. And he said something very special to me, which was very different from what a lot of other people said. Whenever we talked to people about where we were coming from and where we were going, it was mentioned that I'm South African. South Africa? African? You can't be African. White. So they found that very hard to believe. What he said to me when he found out that I was South African was, "But you're my sister then." which to them is one of the biggest compliments you can get. And that was really special for me. Yeah, some days not so good. On the left, I was feeling really bad. We had decided that we're not going to cross from Mauritania into Senegal at Rosso, which is the main crossing point. We did go and get petrol there, and I then realized why it wasn't a good idea to try and cross there. We were swamped, and poor Mr. Teddy was nearly kidnapped when we were there. So we got the petrol and we got out of there. And then we had to take this long, long, long road, basically go down the length of the border to another border post, which is very rarely used. And I was sick. I think I had heat stroke. It was stupidly hot. I even lost the bike. Okay. Let them sort themselves out. I even lost the bike in the playground of school, because the road goes through the playground of school and it's sand, and I lost it. But we made it to the other border post, and not long after that we found out why that was a good idea, even though it was a very bad road. And Adrian nearly lost half his screen because it was the whole time. The whole road just did that. People who went through Rosso had to pay huge bribes, and I mean 100, 150 quid, and that's a lot of money when you're on the road, just to get their vehicles through. We didn't pay any bribe going the other way. Be very careful of mosquitoes. I got bitten. That's just one arm. Everything looked like that. That was exposed. Luckily it wasn't in malaria country yet. So I itched for about 3 or 4 days, but then afterwards it was fine. Bottom, that's what two very, very tired riders look like after crossing into, where did we cross into? Mauritania. Yeah, we crossed into Mauritania there, where you basically have to go through the minefield to get to Mauritania. It was a hard day, lots and lots of sand to go through. And the guy with us is a Dutch guy we hooked up for about a week or so. He speaks French, which helped a lot. He's a very good rider, and he helped us through. He was out there for about 3 months between jobs, and he helped us quite a lot. But all of us looked like that for about a day, until we recovered enough to actually get up and walk around and get going again. Then other days are really, really bad. One of the things I realized when I looked at the photos was we didn't take enough photos. We have thousands, but there are some times when we didn't take enough. The road, this is all about the same road. Top left is the start of the road, basically. It was bad. It got worse and worse as we went on. And we were with somebody in a 4x4 at that point. They made it to where we were going at the end of the day. We didn't. They thought we turned back because the road was so bad. But we kept going. We knew what was behind us, and we thought it can't get any worse, so we have to keep going. But it was really bad. At one point, Adrian stopped. He was always riding in front. Adrian stopped. I stopped behind him. Went over to him and he said, "There's no road, we can't go anymore. The main road is that way, it's so bad, we can't go through there. Even the people on their little 125s don't go there. So we can't go, we have to turn back, or I don't know what we do." So I walked up and I thought, okay, maybe we can just go here. There's a big ditch there, but it's not big enough to go into and ride through because it's narrower than the bikes. But there's a little road there. You have to make a 90-degree turn, and then you have to make another 90-degree turn and go up. Maybe we can do that. So I helped Adrian up because we were both very tired. And he said, okay, he'll go up, park the bike, come down and help me up. He was away so long that I did that little bit on my own. Met up with him at the top. But I would not have been able to do that if I'd not done an off-road course beforehand. It's really important, I think, if you want to go and do places like Africa and anywhere where the roads aren't as good as here and in Europe, to do an off-road course, just to give you the confidence that yes, you can. Doesn't matter how bad it is, you can do it, you can get through it. It's very different riding a fully laden bike to riding something that doesn't have any panniers or anything on it on a course. But it helps you to know where your limits are, what you can do, and you can always do more than you think you can. The whole road, I think, is less than 80 kilometers long. Halfway through, we were given a place to stay in the local headmaster's office. That's his boxes and his storage unit. Two guys on a little moped took us under their wing and showed us a route through all of these massive potholes once we got past that horrible section. And they took us there, had a chat with the headmaster, who said we can sleep in his office. And that was really, really nice. They didn't have to do that. And then off they went. They still had to get to the town that we were trying to get to before night, before they were going to the mosque, I think. So the next day, we were there on our own again. That's what Adrian's bike looked like after the 2 days. We took mud out of the exhaust when we were cleaning it. I think mine looked worse. Couldn't find a photo of it though. But you can get through these things. It was so wet because it started raining again. We stayed in a little hotel for about 3 days trying to dry everything out. But again, we made it. Yeah. And then other days, you find a family like this. This was in Morocco. We stayed with them for about 3 days as well. They took us into their house. It's a big family house, so mum and dad lives there, their sons live there with their wives and all the kids. So it's this massive big 2-story house with loads of people in it. And they took us in, they made food for us, and we made food for them. Adrian was taught how to make mint tea, which is really nice. I sort of fell in love with that. I was taught how to make bread, their flatbreads that they have, and it was really a really nice experience to see that. And the woman the husband, where am I going? The wife of the guy that took us in, it was through couch surfing. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's only about that size. She's still in school because she only started school when she was 13. And he's a teacher, so he wants her to get a proper education, which is unusual. She made us a chocolate cake, an awesome chocolate cake. And what she has for an oven, it's about that big, with a gas flame coming in the bottom. And it was so moist and so nice, it was just awesome. And that is what everybody dreads on a motorbike, having a puncture. We were lucky, we only had 3 on our trip. 1 on each of Adrian's tyres and 1 on my rear tyre. That's another thing we learned before we went, how to get the tyres off the rims. It's not easy. So we managed to change the front tyre all by ourselves. We had to do it twice because somebody had to try and help us, and in doing so he pinched the inner tube more than once, so we couldn't fix it again. So we had to take it all out, put it back again, and off we went. The rear tyre, we had some problems because I couldn't help. I was sick again. I ate a mango, about that big, very ripe, very nice, but not good for the tummy. So Adrian managed to put the tyre on the back of a 125 with somebody, taking to the local garage and had it replaced there. And when I had my puncture, we were on our way to Togo. It was the day before my birthday, I did not want to spend my birthday in Ghana. I had decided I don't like it. I want to be out of Ghana. So we had to get to Togo. And I get a flat tire in roadworks where there's nobody there. So I went off trying to get Adrian's attention, and eventually he came back and somebody stopped. We thought, here we go again, somebody to help. That's not going to help. It turns out the guy who was trying to help was a mechanic, and he showed us how to make sure that the valve is properly seated and everything, and get the tire inflated again, and everything was right. So that was really good. His name was Gabriel, so I call him my guardian angel. But it will happen. Wherever you go in Africa, you are bound to get at least one puncture. We decided in Cameroon that we're not going to chance the roads. This was after we heard about the Fiesta getting swamped by a pothole. So we put the bikes on the train, and we took a train journey, an overnight train journey. We had our own cabin with the 2 beds, and it was actually quite nice. We were even given a meal, which was also quite nice. But that top left, that's their big station building. It's quite a busy station. I think lots of people go from north to south on the train because the roads are so bad. There is a new road which goes on the east side of Cameroon, and the guy who was with us in the 4x4, he decided that he was going to take that route. His car was searched, and the person who searched it decided that he needed to test all the beers this guy has been collecting in his travels. He travelled from South Africa to Germany, and he was now on his way back to South Africa. So every single one of his beers was opened and tasted. They can do that. That's again somebody with a uniform in an official position, just doing what he can do. But we quite enjoyed the train journey. It was a break from the normal. And now this is why our journey wasn't quite what we expected. Before we got to Togo, Adrian's bike the clutch started slipping. In Togo, the guy who was looking at it, who's a Dakar mechanic, he said the clutch is buckled, not the clutch cable. So he changed the clutch plates, which we had to get from the UK via DHL, I think. Took forever. So that was fine. Coming into DRC, 5 miles into DRC, his bike broke completely. Didn't want to go anywhere. And we had to put it on a little pickup that came by. They took it to the town. Then we had to find some way of getting from there to Matadi, where we could actually find somebody to take the bike to South Africa. Our final destination was South Africa, but we had wanted to go through Angola and Namibia as well, not stopping the DRC, which is probably the worst place you want to stop, because you have to pay for everything and they want dollars for everything, and nothing is cheap there at all. But one of the guys put our bikes in crates, and we wanted a forklift. We wanted to hire a forklift. They said, no. Far too expensive. It'll cost you this much to get the bikes on the truck. We just need a few people to do it. Not so sure about that, but they did. They managed it, except that halfway through, they decided that no, that wasn't enough money. So they wanted more money, which was more than the forklift would have been. But that meant all of them got a bit of money, not just the person who was at the forklift. And the guy on top of the crate was the guy who built the crates for us. And the person with me, Sister Virginia, she was another little angel. We ended up in the DRC, another French-speaking country, not being able to speak French, in trouble, turning up at the Catholic mission again, and nobody there can speak in English until she turned up. Her mother was visiting her there because she had come from South Africa, where she's based, so she can speak English. She was there for about 3 weeks or so, and because she can't live like her mother anymore in a village where there's no running water, no heating, no nothing, she let her mother come over to the convent where she was staying, and that's where we met her. So if she was still happy to live in a village like her mother, she wouldn't have been there. We would have been in a bit more trouble than we were. So she managed to translate everything that was happening. We ended up meeting up with her again in South Africa when we were there. And the other lady there is the Mother Superior. When people were not coming forward to do the jobs they were supposed to do, like getting us to sign documents and stuff or moving everything, she made one phone call and just said something to the lines of, "I am your line to God. If you are not here within half an hour, you know what I can do." They were all there, lined up, within half an hour, with all the documents we had to sign, and luckily that was it. But that was also the end of our trip. We had to go back to South Africa. But things, even when they look bad, is not all bad. We were, because things went so well, we were in South Africa 3 days before my sister got married, so we could go to her wedding. About 3 weeks before my dad had a quadruple heart bypass, so we were there to support him and my mum, which was good. And the saddest one of all, we were able to say goodbye to a good friend of us who was dying of cancer and whose funeral we went to when we were back into South Africa. So even when things are really bad, it might not be as bad as you think it is. So, ending on a slightly better note, Mr. Teddy. He goes with us, and he does everything with us. That's some of the things we did. He watched me play cards. I like playing patience. He likes beer, which is not so good, and he gets tired every now and again. So, what do we do now? Now we've got 2 dogs, the ones that started barking earlier, which means we can't really use the bikes anymore. So we've got a Land Cruiser, which is the most unreliable Land Cruiser that you can get. And we have a trailer and a tent on top of the trailer. So the dogs are in a crate where they travel throughout the day, and they also sleep in the crate. And yeah, that's basically what we do. Things with dogs, where do they sleep? How do you keep them safe? What do you feed them? I also used to kibble. How much kibble can you realistically carry? If you feed them raw, you need to find the food for them. So there's all sorts of different things that you have to think about when you've got animals on the road. How do you exercise them? Where do you exercise them? How do you stimulate them? Or if you're in the car for 6 hours of the day, how do you stimulate them? How do you keep them happy? How do you keep them exercised? And that's basically me. All done.
We'll be back shortly at Adventure Overland 2017 with another Travel Times Talks. But for now, do check out any of our other videos. And of course, as always, a big thanks to Rimmer Brothers, who have partnered with us to bring you these talks. Their new popular parts catalogue is available for all Land Rover vehicles and is a great addition to your glove box. For more information, also do check out www.rimmerbrothers.co.uk.